Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to another video. Something a little bit different today. Before we begin, please do like and subscribe. As always, really appreciate all the support. So we're just going to be talking about the Vault Weapons update that is coming. I think this is something that has definitely been on the cards for a good while now. And I think it was actually mentioned a fair while ago by the Battlefield team as well. Probably a few months ago now, it's been circulating that the Vault Weapons are going to get a little bit of a rework and basically a little bit of a buff really to bring them in line with the Battlefield 2042 weapons. I think a lot of people feel that very stark jump in quality between the 2042 weapons and the Vault weapons, mostly just because the attachments that you get available for the 2042 weapons make a lot of the weapons absolute laser beams. And then when you tend to use the Vault weapons, especially for example the AEK I've been using recently, if you've been watching my videos, my recent AEK videos, you'll notice in those videos that I remark a lot on the recoil on that weapon and how ridiculous it is in comparison to a lot of the modern weapons from 2042, the SCAR, the M5, AK, all the assault rifles really that are in the same category as the AEK. They have basically no recoil in comparison to the AEK because they have access to all those really good attachments, obviously the grips, and also different ammo types to give you, different recoil profiles as well as, engagement ranges, etc. And I think this is something that is finally going to get addressed here. We can see here on this update, basically they're approaching Season 5, basically Vault Weapons are going to get a nice little rework. They're going to be adding 2042 attachments to the Vault Weapons and a few skins as well, which I think is really going to bring them up in terms of competitiveness in the meta. It's going to be very interesting to see how they play actually, because a lot of these guns that were previously not very viable might suddenly become very strong with 2042 attachments. For example, the M4. The M4 is a very good gun already in my opinion, but it does have quite a lot of recoil. But imagine that M4 damage profile with basically, a lot more controllable recoil, different options for ammo, etc. on it. I mean, the AEK, perfect example what I've been using recently. Absolutely amazing, incredible, fantastic damage profile, but the sheer recoil on it is absolutely ridiculous. It definitely makes it more of a close range weapon, even though it's an assault rifle, just because the recoil is so vast. It's very difficult to shoot people at range with it, but I can imagine if it had a few interesting attachments on it, champion muzzle brake on it for example, bringing down that vertical recoil, and then maybe even like a laser sight or a foregrip or something that's more impactful on the recoil control. I get the impression that that weapon could become very strong in the meta if that was the case. So you can see here, if we're just taking a look at the article, over time as we continue to assess the arsenal of Vault Weapons and your feedback, we identified areas of improvement of the Vault Weapons based on the following action points. You weren't able to adapt the Vault Weapons to your liking with 2042 attachments. Obviously they haven't actually added many attachments apart from the old school attachments you could get. For example, heavy barrel, foregrip, sometimes you get a suppressor, etc. Skins as well, you couldn't customize the skins. And obviously what we've just been talking about, they weren't consistently able to compete in general all-out warfare encounters against 2042 weapons. I mean, trying to beat the RM68 with 2042 weapons is bad enough, let alone, these older weapons which do have longer TTKs. So we can see here, Vault Weapons meet attachments. You may have seen us teasing that for some weeks, but they can be confirmed that they're starting in Season 5. Vault Weapons are going to have attachments. They'll be focusing on assault rifles and sniper rifles to begin with. You can see the ACW, M16, A91, M4, the MTAR, the AEK, and the Gold Sniper Magnum are all going to get attachments. If you look at this GIF here, you can see, some of these different attachments getting added onto the weapon, which will be pretty cool. I think it's definitely going to bring a new sheen to the game. Hopefully people will start using a bit more of a variety of guns as well, because right now there is a very clear meta, and that is that the RM68 is basically the best gun at every range from what I've seen. I think that gun's definitely going to get a nerf, but overall I would say that hopefully adding some more interest to these Vault Weapons is going to bring more people into the idea of actually using them. You can see here all of these, the M16 getting a ton of attachments there, as we can see. 2 Vault weapons with all the available attachments associated with them. I'm not going to go through all of these, but you can get the idea here. Obviously, very, very... Ooh, a Type 4 heavy suppressor for an assault rifle. That'll be interesting. No... Is there actually any assault rifles that have a full suppressor? I think the AC-42 might have one, but I can't actually think off the top of my head. But obviously this is going to be a big deal. I think hopefully this is going to change the meta up a little bit as well. People are going to find out some new little builds for these older guns, and hopefully it's going to make things a bit more interesting in terms of different content to play around with for videos as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how Season 5 rocks up with this as well. As we can see here as well, they're adding some skins to these older weapons as well. As part of Season 5, all the universal skins such as the Forest Multi-Terrain, Desert Technical be extended towards Vault weapons. As an added bonus, universal skins will also be available within Battlefield Portal. So you can basically add some skins to these as well to make them a bit more interesting if you should so choose. And obviously here, I think there's definitely going to be a few guns with these attachments that may become pretty busted if they do become as good as I can imagine. For example, like I said, the AEK, the MTAR as well. The MTAR, a really good gun in my opinion, but obviously the recoil on it makes it a bit less effective at long range, and I think that's probably a good thing. But you can imagine that if it starts to become an absolute laser beam, some of these weapons with high TTKs that are Vault weapons, they could potentially become pretty busted, especially with bigger magazine sizes, etc. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this. I do think that this is going to be something which is hopefully going to change the game for the better, make things a bit more, give a bit more variety to the game. Honestly, the amount of times recently that I've just been getting killed by the RM68, people just snapping to my head and killing me across the map, or at close range or medium range, just straight beating weapons that should be competing at those ranges, like for example other assault rifles. So it'll be interesting to see how this affects the meta. Hopefully balancing can continue nicely. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching indeed. As always, please do like and subscribe. Become a YouTube member as well. There's going to be prizes, giveaways in there very, very soon. People are trickling in all the time in terms of that as well, so make sure you get involved. And with all that being said, I will see you in the next video.